Elizabeth Ann Campbell, born May 31, 1967, was a student at Central Texas College, a community college in Killeen, Texas, in 1988. On April 25, 1988, Elizabeth attended her classes and would then go to her part-time job at a 7-Eleven in Killeen. After her shift ended, Elizabeth would go to a study group at her boyfriend Ricky Ray's house. This seemed like an ordinary day for Elizabeth. Ricky lived 30 miles away in Lampasas, and when Elizabeth and Ricky got into some kind of argument, Elizabeth wanted to go home, but since they'd argued, Ricky wouldn't take her. Elizabeth left his house anyway, sometime between 9:30 and 11 p.m. It doesn't appear that there's any bus service between these two cities, and this was before Uber and Lyft. Elizabeth never made it home to Killeen, but her parents didn't realize she was gone until the next day. Soon, a witness came forward. Someone working, probably the clerk, at another 7-Eleven in Copperas Cove along Highway 190, 17 miles from Elizabeth's house, said they'd seen Elizabeth being dropped off at the store by a man driving a light green Gremlin. The clerk stated that the driver could have been a Central Texas College student. Elizabeth asked to use the phone to call her boyfriend, which the clerk allowed. While on the phone with her boyfriend, she asked him to come get her, to which Ricky refused and they got into yet another argument. Elizabeth then said she'd call her brother instead. Calling her brother would have been a long-distance call, which Elizabeth didn't want to do on the store's phone, so she went outside to use the payphone. Elizabeth was never seen again and never ended up calling her brother. When Elizabeth's parents tried to report her missing the next day, the police told them they'd have to wait 72 hours to report her missing because Elizabeth was an adult. Her parents decided to take up the search themselves for the next 3 days. Elizabeth's parents even went to the campus of Central Texas College to find the man who dropped her off at the 7-Eleven. They ended up finding the man, who said he'd been working in the campus's computer lab that night. Afterward, as he was driving home, he spotted Elizabeth walking along the road, recognized her from campus, and offered her a ride to Copperas Cove. Other than the clerk at the store, this is the last confirmed sighting of Elizabeth. 4 years later, in 1992, Elizabeth's purse was found 180 miles away, off Interstate 10 in Ozona. Someone had turned it into the Crockett County Sheriff's Office, but the office didn't record who had turned it in. The sheriff at the time believed it had been turned in sometime in late 1988 or early 1989, but they didn't do anything about it. The purse still contained Elizabeth's social security card, military ID card, and credit card. But her makeup, hairbrush, and keys were missing. When Elizabeth's case was featured on the show, Unsolved Mysteries, several sightings were discussed, all of which included an unidentified man seen with Elizabeth. 6 days after Elizabeth vanished, she was seen at a gas station by worker Roger Enian. Roger saw a car pull up to one of the gas pumps, and a man got out with a young woman, pulling her forcibly by the arm. This male driver gave Roger $20. The woman looked at the man but didn't say anything. Roger thought the woman wasn't allowed to speak. When Elizabeth's mom came into the store a few days later with flyers, Roger recognized the woman he saw as Elizabeth. A few days after this first sighting, there was another at a store in Copperas Cove. Again, a man was forcibly holding onto a young woman and wouldn't let her speak. The cashier, Michelle Christensen, believed this was Elizabeth. Then, on July 10th, a woman named Virgie Johnson was about to enter a convenience store in Garland, Texas, when a woman who looked like Elizabeth bumped into her. Virgie said the young woman seemed scared and kept apologizing. These sightings led the police and Elizabeth's parents into thinking that Elizabeth had been abducted and was forced into some kind of human trafficking situation. The Unsolved Mysteries segment included an interview with a woman named Lois Lee, who founded Children of the Night, and gets women out of such situations. Lee stated in the segment that it seems as though Elizabeth is too afraid to speak up for herself. I am not sure if I believe this theory, I'm just putting it out there. The man that was seen with Elizabeth was described as around 5 feet 7 inches, 160 pounds with pockmarked scars on his face. The man could be of Asian descent and may pluck his eyebrows. This man also appeared to be wearing a martial arts medallion on a gold chain. He is still unidentified. As for Elizabeth herself, at the time she vanished, she was 20 years old, biracial, around 5 feet 2 inches, and 105 pounds, with brownish-black, straight hair and brown eyes. Elizabeth needs either glasses or contacts, and her ears are double-pierced, according to the Doe Network, and several tooth fillings. She wanted to transfer to Texas A&M in the fall of 1988 to study marine biology, and her parents describe her as kind of naive. At the time of the show, Unsolved Mysteries, her parents were elderly but wanted to find her.